Oh, hi. I'm off on another little photo expedition. Much in the same way that some guys, people, guys, girls, go fishing when they want to get away from it all. For me, it's an astrophotography overnighter, or I might even do 2 nights this trip while I'm out here, depending on what the conditions are like. I might go to a different location the next night. I'm going back to a location I've done a while back. I didn't bother filming it. I didn't really enjoy it at the time. I've seen other people get some nice photos there, so I suspect I've just been there at the wrong time or the wrong season, and I've gone there when it's dry, and it's a rather unremarkable salt lake. It's not very attractive when it's dry. With water in it, it could be lovely because there are a lot of trees, the dead trees. So I'm going to give it another go. Hopefully there's been enough rain to top it up, and hopefully the sky's clear. The weather did say that the skies were going to be only partly cloudy tonight, or a little cloud, which is why I'm doing this possibly over 2 nights, because it is supposed to be definitely clear tomorrow. And if I don't get anything worthwhile at this location, I'll be moving to another one I visited before, again at probably the wrong time of the year. But that one might not be accessible because it gets slick when it gets wet and you can't get near the lake easily. I don't know. So it's very experimental this time around, getting outside my usual comfort zone, which is a good thing to do. I find myself getting a bit repetitive going back to similar locations, I know. I have to be particularly careful this trip because the last trip that I went away, for the second time, I dropped a camera and lens in a salt lake. And trust me, nothing kills your gear faster than a really, really, really salty salt lake. It's just insta-kill. This time round, I dropped my A7IV, sporting my brand new Sigma 14mm 1.4 art lens, which just killed me. The good news is it appears, at least until this point, the Sigma lens is okay. Sigma, whatever you're doing with your weather sealing, kudos, because it seems, touch wood, perfectly fine. I don't know, because corrosion can be insidious. All it takes is a drop to get in there on a circuit board and it'll do its thing. But if none has got in there, if the seals have been so good they've kept all of it out, it should be okay because I rinsed it off straight away. The body, the camera body, is completely cactus. I'll put some shots up later of what it looks like inside, and this is like only a second in the water. The weather sealing in Sony A7IV ain't so crash hot. I hope the R5 is better. And I replaced that with a Sony A7IV. One, because last time I claimed my insurance, they would only pay up to a certain amount, which wasn't going to cover the cost of replacement, so I paid extra out of my own pocket to get the R5. A7R5. So this time I got the A7R4, anticipating that I would only get a certain amount if the insurance paid out. Anyway, for whatever reason, the insurance company paid out the full replacement price, less the excess for an A7R4. So I had to replace my camera body right away because I had a job paying, a commission job. And I need to have 2 cameras, obviously, as a professional photographer. Also makes the job easier rather than swapping lenses. But I think, in hindsight, it was the right move. I think the A7IV is a much better camera for me for my day-to-day work because 61 megapixels is overkill. I thought I might find the crop factor limiting, as in when I use the crop mode in the camera, because unlike the R5, that crops to a 27 or 26 megapixel image, I think, which is still a great big file, and it gives you basically a 1.5 zoom. So I use that a lot because I don't like cropping after the fact. I do quick batch corrections in edits for exposure balancing and that kind of thing, but I crop everything in camera where possible. It just saves so much time. So I find that function really useful. And I was worried that cropping on the 33 megapixel sensor was going to give, I think it works out to be a 16 megapixel file. So it's still bigger than the full-size image from an A7IV, which people do shoot professionally for stills. So I guess I've just gotten used to having massive amounts of megapixels to play with. So I've been spoiled, and I've been taking files that are just way too big. The A7IV, obviously with the lower pixel count for sensor size, should be better for my low light video. So I'll be testing that out tonight, hopefully, weather conditions being favourable. So better video quality and maybe even less noisy single frame still captures. Not that I find the noise on the R5 a problem. There's such large files, and once you sort of stitch together 20 or so images and crop that to a usable size of a panorama, you're really having to go more than 300 times zoom to see noise that's in any way objectionable. And with your noise reduction software and things that are available now, I don't think it's the issue it used to once be. But for low light gathering ability, I'm hoping that the R5 will be that sort of happy middle ground without having to lash out on a A7III for the video stuff at night, because it's not something I do for work, so I can't justify the cost. This is just for shits and giggles, and hopefully, I don't know, provide something for people to watch. I don't know if anyone's going to learn anything from the videos that I shoot, but I will go over a little bit more detail about what I'm doing. I'm also trialling out, like I normally do, some new gear. I had a food warmer that I've discussed in a previous video. It's like a little lunch bowl type thing, or like one of those heated lunch boxes that are becoming sort of fairly popular now. 240 volts, I think it's 50 or 60 watts or something like that. It's very low power. It just acts like a bit like a slow cooker with a heat strip around the sides in the way that a slow cooker works. So it heats your food slowly over a period of time, which is great for certain types of food. Stews, casseroles, wet type dishes turn out really well in it. Although you've got to be careful, you leave it too long, it does get up to over 80 degrees, which, depending on what you've put in there and on reheating, it might actually overcook it and make it tough. But I've put a little dimmer switch on it so I can actually turn that power down a little bit. But I've also acquired the world's cutest, tiniest electric fry pan. Literally, it's 5 inches across. And it's pretty much the perfect size to put a pie in. Because what I found in the little food warmer, if I'm heating a pie, it's almost impossible not to get a soggy kind of pie, because it's sort of sealed in there. With this little device, because it's 260 watts, it does get up to 185 degrees. So it's pretty much working, if you put the lid on it, it's working like a little oven. But obviously the pie is sitting on the base. I made a little trivet out of foil to keep it from burning on the base, and that seems to work really well. And unlike the 12-volt travel ovens that a lot of people use, this will heat up a pie from cold, fridge cold, not frozen, in about 30 minutes. Pretty much the same amount of time it would take, according to the directions in your oven at home. And I can have that sitting on the footwell of my car, plugged into my inverter in the car. This being a plug-in hybrid, it's got built-in 240 volts sockets, which I can turn on from the dash here. So basically I can put my pie in it, grab the pie out of the fridge behind me here, put it in there. I would pull over before I try that, trust me. And turn it on. And probably about 15 minutes in, flip the pie over so you're getting heat, the bottom heat hitting the top of the pie to crisp that up as well, and you get a really good crisp hot pie. That in conjunction with the food warmer, and as Providence would have it, the bowl of the food warmer fits in this little electric fry pan base. So when I want to do noodles later on tonight perhaps, I can do them in a big bowl rather than trying to fit them all in the tiny little pan that came with this little electric fryer. And the beauty of these things is they're kind of novelty devices. They're designed for students in their dorm rooms and things like that, and they're a bit gimmicky. But for my use case, when I'm on my own and I just need to reheat or cook something really small and, you know, grabbable, you know, road type foods, it really is the perfect solution. Takes up very little space, weighs nothing, and I picked this one up in a second-hand store for $7. $7. That's how much you pay for a pie in some places. So I feel like it's a good one. Now, this is where I came to last time and wasn't terribly impressed, and after driving past some of the places on the way to here, I obviously missed all the good bits. So I'm going to turn around, head back out to a better location nearby. Well, it appears I owe Yenyening Lakes a massive, massive apology. I really did sell them short last time. I clearly just went to the wrong location in this area and didn't scout around enough. Because, yeah, this is where we're at now. We've got some interesting... Oh, I'll show you in a second, but here's camp, which is great. Off the road. Plenty of wood around, and burning is permitted at the moment. So even though it'll be a chilly night, and I don't normally light fires when I'm doing this because quite often the light is going to be in the background of my shot, but here it's not going to be the case. I'll be shooting away from the fire, so it might even just add a little bit of illumination in the foreground, but probably not. I'll be far enough away. But I'll show you what I'm talking about here. if we come out and the ground is firmer than I expected it to be, and not nearly as wet as I expected it to be, but it is navigable. But over here we're getting cracking in the clay pan there, so I've got to be careful where I step, because I imagine some of these spots are going to get very soft, and also I don't want to leave any footprints where I'm going to be shooting. So hopefully we can get a Milky Way panorama through here, if the stars align, so to speak. So right now I'm going to get my camp set up, collect a little bit more firewood, and settle down and plan for the evening. Oh, okay. Alright, we'll try that again. Setting the to air slog and see if we can actually see that a little bit better. So, as I was saying, tonight's going to be a wash. We've got dead black, complete cloud-covered skies. It's, as you can see, we've got a little bit of light pollution over there, but otherwise there is barely a glimmer of stars. It was meant to be a few clouds, according to the weather report, but that turns out to be a bit of a furphy. So tonight's just going to be a camp. It was at least a nice camp. We were able to have a fire. It's a nice spot. It's quiet. It's isolated. There's no one around, so that's just kind of nice anyway. But I really do hope that tomorrow night we get clear skies, because there's a lot of potential in this location. I sold it short last time. I just went to the wrong spot. I didn't look around enough, and this place has got a lot to give. I now know why people come here. So I'm going to get to bed. I might, when I wake up for my inevitable late middle-aged or 50-plus-year-old nighttime pee, I'll check the skies, see if it's actually improved, and if I've got the stamina, I might try and get something, but otherwise I'd say all the action is going to be tomorrow night. Alrighty. Here's how we're going to spend the night in the car. Very cozy, very comfortable. Wake up. Going to be watching some series on the laptop. I've got my fridge here, which also acts as a table where I can keep everything, and the drawer system that I've got there acts as like a bench that I can put things on as well, and then it leaves this space for the bed, which is actually very comfortable. So that's where I'm going to be ensconced for the evening, because unless the weather changes, there's nothing happening outside, sadly. But at least I'll be comfortable. I dragged my sorry ass out of bed at 4 a.m. because for a clear sky with a setting Milky Way. So hopefully it'll be worth it. It is going to be a good location, and I hope for better results tomorrow evening, when I'm a little bit better prepared for it, rather than half asleep like I am now and freezing cold because I wasn't actually prepared. I just got myself out of bed basically and threw a couple of things on, but I will be better prepared and more energetic for tomorrow evening. So just going for a little another daytime scouting expedition, because I didn't have a lot of time yesterday. It was getting dark and I needed to get my firewood together. Let's get my fat hand out of the shot. Anyone who's seen my previous video, any of my previous videos, you might notice a few changes to the vehicle. Namely, I got rid of the side awning. It seemed like a good idea at the time, and it's probably a good idea where I'm camping with company, and someone has to sleep outside. But for what I'm doing most of the time, which is solo, and what the internets would incorrectly call stealth camping, whereas I call it more quick camping, in that I get to a location usually late in the day. So if it's hot weather, the shadows are long, the afternoon's already well set in, and it's starting to cool down and is at least bearable. And you've got long shadows, so the awning doesn't really give you any proper sort of shade underneath it anyway. And it's just something else to set up. And if you need to move, it's something you've got to take down. I'm also not camping in inclement weather because I'm out here to do this. And it doesn't make sense to go out in rainy weather. It's no fun to camp in, and it's of no use to me. So by getting rid of that, I've shed a bit of weight. Makes it quicker to set up camp and pack down camp, which is important, and I can move to another location if need be at very short notice. So yeah, I've got enough gear that I've got to pack into the car as it is, so any excess weight is just dead weight if I'm not using it. All right. When scouting through areas like this, especially ones that have a soft floor, be careful to stay outside of the photogenic areas. Don't walk right through the middle of it to see what's on the other side. Go around. If you've got some nice patterns in the foreground, if you've got some cracking, surface cracking, that kind of thing, you don't want to put your footprints through it for yourself or for anyone else who might come after you. So be considerate to yourself and everyone else. And stay out of the center of these places if you can possibly avoid it, unless you're really, going for a hero shot. Come over to this side, another spot I missed last time I was here. And I'm going to use this area for a real crowded type of effect. Almost like a petrified forest stretching up to the stars. So I'll probably come in here when the Milky Way is a little bit lower, so it actually will be behind the tops of the trees because they're so high and so thick, as you can see through here. It really does give you the idea of a once very dense forest, now pretty much a boneyard, I guess you could call it. So almost like bony fingers reaching up to the stars. I think it could make an interesting contrasting shot to the usually less sort of fussy, more simplified images I quite often take. This one's going to be extremely fussy, and that's, as I've said before, it's one of the reasons I tend not to take separate sky and foreground, because trying to blend a sky with this much protruding into it, I've seen a lot of blends and there's a fuzziness around the edges, there's blurring or there's an over sharpening. They just don't look right a lot of the time, and I don't trust my skills to be able to do a good job of it, so I just avoid it wherever possible and just one-shot it as much as I can. And with camera sensors and noise processing and dynamic range and everything that we've got at our disposal these days, it's sort of a little less necessary to do that kind of compositing. Anyway, I'm going to have a bit of a rest and prepare myself for probably a very long night. It looks like we're going to have nice clear skies, so it's going to be great, I think. I hope. Some firewood now to get me through the evening. As you can see, there is no shortage of firewood. As I mentioned earlier, I did this place a disservice by dissing it on my way here. And yeah, all it was is I just went to the wrong spot. I went to the wrong location. And for whatever reason, I thought that was the only spot where there was that kind of salt lake. And it turns out I was very, very wrong. I don't know what was wrong with me that time that I didn't spot this on the way in. It's a great little spot to camp, but still one thing about this place that can be problematic, and that is, see all these things that look like animal paths. There's more over there. They even sometimes look like they might be tire tracks. Well, those are ant roads. Ant trails that have been worn down by these ants just parading through here like they own the place. I guess they kind of do. And yeah, they're the occupational hazard for this particular location, though they don't seem too bad because it's cooler weather and a bit less dry. Alright, back to firewood collecting. Now, did I mention the ants before? Here they are, in abundance, and they're pretty much everywhere. This is why I'm particularly glad I sleep in my car. Well, hi. So, I'm going to conclude the evening now. I'm using my little flicker lamp that I use to light up some of these nightscapes, because it just gives this interesting uneven kind of light, but it's not a great video light. Looks like firelight. And for the stills, it's just a nice warm glow, but that's all I've got at the moment. So here's where we finished up for the evening, in this cluster, very dense cluster of dead trees. As you can see, we've got the setting Milky Way core behind us. It's been a bit interesting because I've seen a light over the lake, torchlight, shining about at the very early hours of the morning that it is, which sometimes can make you nervous, but then again, they're probably doing the same thing as me. And I'm the guy who's normally walking around in complete darkness. So I guess I'm the scary one. Bloody freezing, but a very worthwhile night, and I'm glad I stayed the extra night, because last night I saw the potential and was able to scout the locations and have a bit of a wander around the country towns and enjoy that, and come back and set myself up with a plan to hopefully get some great nightscapes. Well, hopefully it all goes well, and until then, clear skies, at least clear skies at night. Well, I have to apologise to Yenyening Lakes for all the bad words I'd said about editing them in the past. I just went to entirely the worst possible location that exists there, and just clearly didn't look around at all the other options, because yeah, I found some wonderful spots. I'm losing my voice because I've basically spent 2 nights out till about 4 last night, or this morning till 5 in the morning. Bitterly cold, it's about 4 degrees. So even rugged up, yeah, I'm still sort of feeling it. But yeah, so much potential there. Really enjoyed that. The only thing I still stand by is the ants. During the day, so many ants. Fortunately, they all go to bed at night. Anyways, now it's the trek home. I've got a pie heating up for a belated, well, we'll call it lunch now. Pie heating up for on the way, and get back home and do some editing. And I'm pleased, I think, with what I've got, but obviously we don't find out until the final stitching together of the panoramas and everything else. But a good night.